Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Áine's Tales from the Hearth. This time accompanied by Pawdy O'Shea, no less. He followed me in here this evening and decided to hop up to say hello. You wouldn't catch Big Ron doing this, nah, not unless he was getting paid lots and lots of money, isn't that right? Yeah, I think this man is definitely more suited to the public eye, aren't you? Anyway, how are you all doing? How is everyone? Another week gone by. So I had said I would do a reading of this poem, The Forgotten Trees. Yes, hello my darling, hello. And I only wrote this, well, it like say with the Song of the Horses, this one kind of, I woke up with it a little bit in my head. I had the bones of it again. I kind of had the idea of it. And I had a real, genuine realization about the tree itself in particular that I speak of. And the strange part, this guy's heading off. So the strange and wonderful thing was that I had literally been only sort of thinking about this particular tree, and I did some research. And the tree in question is the Scots pine. And like I'm sure a lot of you, anyone that isn't, very learned on the type of trees, the native trees, I always presumed the Scots pine was native to Scotland, as in the name. And I presumed it wasn't one of our, I think about 20 native Irish trees. So I kind of didn't give it its due credit, and I was never that interested in it because of that, which seems unfair. I did always hear about this thing about Scots pine, two Scots pines and old homesteads. Now, I don't know where I heard that. I could have dreamt that as well. I don't know. But I have this in my head that there's a thing about two Scots pines being guardians for a homestead, that there's a good luck totem for a homestead. And of course, we have the two, now three actually. When I really studied them, there's actually a third. They had a baby. But I have had the two Scots pines there for years and years, for as long as I'm here, and I would say for a lot longer. I found out so much about them. I was going to say the breed, about the type of tree that they are, and I was just astounded by what I read. So because of my interest in them and learning then more about the name, I actually found out, and it's really a true story, that they had once believed every Scots pine that was in Ireland now originated from saplings or seeds from Scotland. And that was believed to be true up until recently. And there was two guys in Trinity that actually discovered spores. Let me get this right now. It may not be exactly right, but they found spores from the Scots pine on the Burren on a particular lake. I have the name somewhere, but I must do a blog on it. But they found, instead of touching the tree, because if you cut a Scots pine at all, it dies. So it can't regenerate like some other trees can. So they took spore samples or samples from the lake that was just right beside it. And what they discovered was a lineage, like a straight line of trees dating from this tree without any break. So it literally proved that the Scots pine that was standing at that lake in the Burren was original Irish native Scots pine. Now, I do wonder, as Puddy crying, I do wonder what the original name would have been, what Irish people would have called the Scots pine prior to that. I'm sure they didn't call it the Scots pine, they would have had a name for it, so that I don't know. But the whole story is just amazing. I just find it fascinating. It's kind of like the dinosaur of the tree world. And I think I learned that it's the oldest fruit-bearing plant in the world. Since the Ice Age, it was around since after the Ice Age. So fascinating tree, a fascinating history. I mean, I love all trees. I love trees. I'm not particularly fond of the sycamore. After what happened to Breffney, but oh no, look, it wasn't the tree's fault. In all honesty, I do love trees. I have a special relationship with trees, as my mother has, and I would love to plant some more native trees around here if I could get a bit more land, a bit more of an area away from the horses, I would love. It's a dream of mine to do that as well. So who knows someday. So this poem is called The Forgotten Trees in honour of the wonderful, wonderful Scots pine and of all the wonderful native trees of Ireland. And I hope you enjoy it. The Forgotten Trees. Oh, I do love a willow tree, I exclaimed in delight. Look how it flows down to the lake in the pale moonlight. But the willow tree sighed and bowed down its green head. My words made no difference. It kept weeping instead. It was oak, I decided, was the very best tree. Strong, tall and sturdy and perfect for me. So I planted a sapling and watched as it grew, but it took so long growing that I got old too. Then I learned one day about the Irish ash tree and how important its wood was for the Irish country. So I set about putting my arms round its trunk, but its boughs started bending as if it were drunk. And we swayed together like boats on the sea, and I realised then that it wasn't for me. It was later in life I fell in love with hawthorn. Its mythology, mystery, fey magic born. I felt that it captured the essence of me, the fairy queen dancing with her hawthorn tree. But as we danced for Bridget in the bright sunlight, red blood started flowing. I jumped back in fright. The thorns, they were piercing my skin, and I knew, though sad as I felt, what I had to do. I said farewell to the hawthorn as it waved me goodbye, and handed an offering cloth my tears for to dry. I spent time with the others in acts of sheer folly, the alder, the rowan, birch, yew and holly. I had a particular fondness for the hazel tree. Its folklore and stories were music to me. We spent many years in friendship, happy together, yet something still called me like wind to a feather. A whispering song in the air all around, a forgotten voice, an ancient sound. And my eyes, they rested on two shapes so tall that towered above me and made me feel small, yet safe and so comforting, familiar like home. Their deep soothing voices told me I'm not alone. These sentinel guardians kept watch all these years, stood with me through life, through heartache and tears. We weathered it all while all else fell asunder. When man pulled us down, when this land was in plunder, cut us down in our thousands, our limbs burnt for heat, but we had stayed alive, right under your feet. In the 17th century our family arrived. From Scotland's shores they helped us survive. For it was thought that in Ireland we were lost and long gone, but the Burren in Clare proved that we had lived on. The Druids and the Shaman knew of our healing power, the Lord of the Woods, an immortal tower, and wildlife all know what shelter we give, strong branches for nesting, food all year to live. When the trees finished speaking, my tears started to flow. My soul, it remembered these friends that I know. I ran to them both, placed my palms on their bark. Their souls met my soul, their words left their mark, and I promised them daily they would always be mine, the forgotten trees of Ireland, the native Scots pine. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, I really enjoyed writing it. It really just was just a pure joy to write, and yeah, it just made me smile writing and reading it. So I hope you enjoyed it too. Sorry for the ramble at the beginning, but there was so much to talk about. I found the whole thing just so interesting. I did also mean to say, that was another thing that I had mentioned in there, that the Scots pine had been honoured by shamans in Mongolia, and the Druids obviously honoured it as well, and it has so many healing properties, seemingly for breathing problems. The pines are full of vitamin C. And another thing I learned is that the red squirrel, it's the cones from the Scots pine is their favourite, it's basically their favourite food. And the red squirrel had been almost decimated in Ireland, and is making a comeback, and maybe some more of these trees around the place would help that as well. So there you go. Apart from that, I meant to say, have a lovely Nullag Naman. Women's Little Christmas today. It's quite a special day, the 6th of January. I'd written on my blog originally the 6th of December. These are silly mistakes I make. Yeah, I just had December in my head, but it's the 6th of January, obviously, not great with dates. And it's a special day, yeah, Nullag Naman in Ireland. It's making a bit of a revival, maybe like the Scots pine and the red squirrel. So have a lovely Nullag Naman. It's also another special date, not such a nice one, but the night of the big wind was actually the 6th of January in 1839, and that was the year that this cottage was built because of a subsequence, because of the night of the big wind. So today and this evening and tonight, it's quite a special day, for a couple of reasons. So yeah, I thought you might enjoy that. Anyway, this has been a long one. Apologies. I hope you have stayed with me and not gotten too bored, and enjoyed the poem. As always, thank you so much for listening. It's lovely to know there's a few of you out there listening and enjoying it, rather than speaking to an empty room. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and what you liked about it, and hopefully I will see you all again next week for Áine's Tale from the Hearth. Slán!